Imagine walking through Boston on an ordinary winter afternoon when the ground suddenly begins to shake. You hear metal groaning behind you. Then comes a sound like thunder. You turn around and see something that should be impossible. A giant brown wave swallowing buildings, horses, wagons, and anyone too slow to escape. This isn't water, it's molasses. And it's moving toward you at nearly 35 miles per hour. Welcome to Boston, January 15th, 1919. If you want to survive the Great Molasses Flood, you need to move now. But first, why is Boston storing millions of gallons of syrup beside a crowded neighborhood? In the early 20th century, molasses wasn't only used for baking. It could be fermented into industrial alcohol, an important product for factories, fuel, and wartime manufacturing. Near Boston's North End stood an enormous steel tank owned by the Purity Distilling Company. It was roughly 50 feet tall and about 90 feet wide. Inside were approximately 2.3 million gallons of molasses. That is enough sticky syrup to fill several Olympic-sized swimming pools and permanently ruin breakfast for an entire city. The tank had a problem. It leaked. People living nearby regularly watched molasses drip from its seams. Children reportedly collected it in containers and carried it home. Instead of treating the leaks as a warning, the company painted the tank brown. You know, because if nobody can see the problem has obviously disappeared. Residents also heard strange groaning sounds coming from the steel walls. The tank expanded and contracted as temperatures changed. It had been constructed quickly, and later investigations revealed serious weaknesses in its design and construction. But on this unusually warm January afternoon, nobody knows they are standing beside a giant steel time bomb. It is around 12:30. Workers are eating lunch. Horses pull wagons through the streets. Families go about their day. You are walking near Commercial Street when you hear several sharp cracks. The massive tank begins to tear apart. Steel plates split. Rivets shoot through the air like bullets. Then the entire wall collapses. More than 2 million gallons of molasses explode into the neighborhood. The first wave reportedly rises as high as 25 feet. And despite the phrase, slow as molasses, it is not slow. At the beginning, the wave may be moving at roughly 35 miles per hour, faster than any person can run. Your first survival rule is simple. Do not try to outrun it in a straight line. You will lose. The wave is spreading outward from the tank, so your best chance is to move sideways, away from its direct path. Look for higher ground, a strong staircase, or a solid building you can enter immediately. But choose carefully. The force of the wave is powerful enough to destroy wooden structures and knock buildings from their foundations. A nearby firehouse is struck and partially crushed. Wagons are thrown across the street. Steel supports beneath the elevated railway are damaged. So climbing the first weak object you see may only give you a better view of your terrible decision. You need something solid, high, and preferably made of brick or reinforced steel. You spot a sturdy warehouse staircase across the street. Run sideways. Do not stop for your hat. Your hat has accepted its fate. Behind you, the wave crashes into homes and workshops. The air fills with shattered wood, twisted metal, and flying debris. Even if the molasses misses you, part of the tank might not. Protect your head and face with your arms. Stay away from windows, walls that are already moving, and the elevated railway. You reach the staircase just as the brown flood covers the street beneath you. For a moment, you think you are safe. Then you notice people trapped below. The molasses is changing. When it first escaped the tank, it moved quickly. But the winter air begins cooling it, making it thicker and increasingly difficult to move through. Imagine trying to walk through glue. while every piece of clothing becomes heavier with each step. Swimming normally is almost impossible. The harder you struggle, the faster you become exhausted. If you fall face first, the molasses can block your nose and mouth. So if the wave catches you, your priority is not speed. Your priority is keeping your airway above the surface. Lean backward if possible. Keep your face raised. Use floating wood or debris to support your upper body, but avoid sharp metal. Remove heavy coats or bags only if you can do so without losing balance. Move slowly and deliberately toward something stable. Do not waste your strength fighting the entire flood. A few feet may require everything you have. Now comes the hardest decision. Do you climb down to help someone? Going alone would create 2 victims instead of 1. Rescuers struggled because the molasses grabbed their boots, clothing, equipment, and even their stretchers. The safest option is to stay on solid ground and use a rope, ladder, wooden board, or long pole. Spread your weight and anchor yourself before pulling anyone. If several people are available, form a rescue line. Do not step directly into deep molasses unless there is no alternative. You find a rope inside the warehouse and lower it toward a trapped worker. He grabs it, but pulling him free feels like lifting someone from wet cement. 2 other survivors help you. Together, you drag him toward the stairs. The molasses refuses to let go, but eventually he reaches solid ground. He is alive. The neighborhood around you looks like a battlefield dipped in syrup. Buildings are crushed. Horses, carts, and debris are trapped together. The elevated railway is damaged, but a train approaching the area is stopped before it reaches the broken section. Police officers, firefighters, sailors, medical workers, and local residents rush toward the disaster. Their first enemy is confusion. Their second enemy is the molasses covering absolutely everything. Rescue teams struggle to walk. Equipment slips from their hands. Victims are difficult to see beneath the dark liquid and wreckage. If you escaped without serious injury, your job is now to help without becoming an obstacle. Move away from damaged structures. Warn rescuers about trapped survivors you saw. Do not light a match or create sparks near industrial facilities and broken equipment. And do not return to retrieve your belongings. Nothing you own is worth getting swallowed by the world's deadliest pancake topping. Hours pass. The temperature drops. The molasses becomes even thicker. Firefighters use water to break it apart, while crews later use salt water and sand during the enormous cleanup effort. But the disaster has already taken a terrible toll. 21 people lose their lives, and around 150 are injured. The cleanup lasts for weeks, and sticky molasses is carried throughout Boston on shoes, clothing, wagon wheels, and rescue equipment. The entire city seems to become slightly sticky, but the story does not end when the streets are cleaned. The company initially suggests that sabotage may have destroyed the tank. Yet after years of investigation and legal battles, poor construction and corporate negligence become central to the case. The tank had been built without proper safety testing. Warning signs had been ignored. The leaks had been hidden instead of repaired. The disaster helped strengthen expectations that major structures should be designed, inspected, and approved by qualified professionals. So, could you have survived the Great Molasses Flood? Only if you reacted immediately. Move sideways from the wave's path. Reach strong, elevated ground. Protect yourself from flying debris. If trapped, conserve your energy and keep your face above the surface. And never enter the molasses alone to rescue someone. Use ropes, boards, and teamwork from solid ground. Most importantly, never ignore a leaking tank simply because someone painted over the evidence. Because history's strangest disasters rarely begin with something dramatic. They begin with a small warning, A strange sound, a tiny leak, and someone saying, "It's probably fine." Until the day an entire neighborhood is attacked by 2.3 million gallons of molasses. Would you survive? Or would Boston's stickiest disaster add you to the recipe?